When the bodies started piling up, people blamed the gangs. The city blamed the streets. But no one ever thought to blame the man in uniform. Not the smiling officer at the town hall meetings. Not the white cop who waved at kids while his trunk still smelled like blood. Because monsters don't wear badges. Until they do. The rain hadn't stopped in 3 days. Detroit's east side shimmered under a film of oil and grief. Streetlights blinked in protest against the night, casting halos on cracked pavement. Officer Travis Keene rolled down 7 Mile, alone in his cruiser. He was in his 40s. Wide-shouldered. Sharp jaw. A veteran on the force, and someone the department praised for his tough-on-crime instincts. He smiled at his reflection in the mirror, checking the scar above his brow. Another shift, another lie, he muttered. 3 bodies in 2 weeks. All young black men. Found near dumpsters. Hands bound. Mouths gagged with duct tape. All killed the same way. Single shot to the chest. Execution style. The media called it gang violence. Keene fed them the theory himself. These kids, they kill each other over shoes now, he'd said during a press conference. A smirk just barely hidden behind the concern. But inside the precinct, the whispers had started. Feels too clean, one rookie said. Too calculated, said another. The file sat on Detective Monroe's desk. A woman with fire in her chest and a tired badge on her hip. She wasn't buying what Keene was selling. She stood in front of Keene one afternoon, holding a crime scene photo. Same duct tape. Same footprint near the body. Different neighborhood. What are the odds? Keene didn't flinch. You telling me I did it, Monroe? His smile was cold. Empty. She stared at him. Long. Then walked away. But that was the beginning. Keene drove slowly now. Past the apartment complex near Gresham. He knew the shadows here. He'd grown up 5 miles away. White suburb, big lawn, strict father. His father used to say, "There's only one way to fix a broken city, son. You clean it from the inside." But Keene took that literally. Too literally. He saw him walking alone. Hood up. Hands in pockets. Just a kid. Maybe 17. Keene slowed the cruiser. "Yo," he called out, pretending to be casual. "You live around here?" The boy paused. "What? Yeah. I'm just heading home. Got ID?" The kid hesitated. Too long. That was all Keene needed. The door slammed shut. The badge came out. The lie began. But this story isn't just about Keene. It's about Eric Lewis, former public defender, now running a community legal clinic out of a church basement. He'd seen too many young men vanish into the system. So when the bodies started showing up, he didn't buy the headlines. He started asking questions. Quiet ones. The kind that made officers shift in their chairs. "You keep pushing like this, Eric," his mother warned, "and you're gonna end up the next one found in an alley." "Then maybe that'll finally make someone listen," Eric whispered. But she heard the fire in his voice. The same fire that got his brother locked up at 16. Same fire that made Eric different. Eric met with Monroe in secret. Her office. Blinds drawn. He laid out his theory. Victims had no known gang ties. They weren't found in rival turf. But they were all last seen by patrol units in Keene's district. Monroe leaned back. "You're saying he's doing this?" Eric didn't blink. "I'm saying someone is. And he's the one no one would suspect." In the dead of night, Keene sat in his garage. He opened a locked metal drawer. Inside, photos, clippings, mementos from each kill. A folded piece of fabric stained red. He lit a cigarette. Stared at the youngest boy's photo. "No one will miss you," he muttered. But he flinched when he said it. Something was unraveling. Eric found an old case. A 2013 shooting. Ruled self-defense by Keene. But the ballistics didn't match. The victim's family never pushed. They were undocumented. Terrified, Eric filed a petition. Quietly. He didn't know his name was already on Keen's radar. Monroe called him late. "Someone broke into my office tonight." "What did they take?" Eric asked. "Nothing." Pause. "But they left a bullet casing on my chair." Silence. "He knows," Eric whispered. Eric sat in his childhood bedroom that night. Photos of him and his brother on the wall. His brother was locked away for stealing a car. No one ever asked why. Eric clenched the case files in his lap. "You hunted them," he whispered. "Because no one ever asked the right questions." That weekend, Eric vanished. Didn't show up to his clinic. Didn't answer calls. His car was found parked by the river. Empty. At the end of a quiet cul-de-sac, a basement light flickered. A man sat in the dark, tied to a chair. Blood trickled from his lip. And Officer Keen stepped into the frame. Calm. Smiling. "Now let's see how well you know the law, counselor." Would you believe the headlines? Would you trust the badge? Or would you look closer, even if it meant facing a truth you didn't want to see? Click the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell for more chilling true crime stories like this. Previously, Eric Lewis disappeared. The lawyer who got too close to a truth no one wanted uncovered. And Officer Travis Keen, the man with a badge and a monster silence, wasn't done yet. Because when you wear the uniform, you don't need to hide in the shadows. You are the shadow. Eric's wrists burned. The rope cut deeper with every twitch. Blood clung to the edge of his shirt. Basement smelled like mildew, bleach, and fear. Across from him, Keen leaned against a furnace, sipping from a can of beer like this was a game night. "You could have been smart, Eric." Keen's voice was calm, controlled. "Could have kept helping kids with parking tickets. But no. You just had to go sniffing where you didn't belong." Eric spat blood. "People know I'm gone. They'll come looking." Keen smiled. "They'll find your car by the river. Your laptop wiped. Your phone burned. Another tragedy. Another black man gone. The city's used to that story." He stepped closer. "You want justice?" He crouched, face inches away. "There is no justice, Eric. Just who tells the better story." Detective Monroe hadn't slept. She stared at the wall of her home office, covered in printouts, photos, pushpins connecting timelines with red thread. Eric's name circled in the center. Missing, 3 days. She stared at the photo of Keen, taken from a precinct awards banquet. His smile was too perfect, too designed. Her gut told her one thing. He had Eric. But no proof. No warrant. No backup. So she did what cops aren't supposed to do. She broke into his house. Midnight. She picked the lock. Gloved hands. Gun drawn. Keen was on shift, or so she hoped. Inside, everything was neat. Tidy. Too tidy. But behind a bookshelf in the basement, a faint scrape. A draft. She pressed her ear against the wall. A click. A thud. Hidden door. And behind it, a locked freezer. Inside, old photos. IDs. Wallets. Mementos. At the bottom, a bracelet engraved, Jaden 2005. The boy from the first murder. Monroe's breath caught. She took the evidence and ran. His breathing slowed. The pain was sharp now. But his mind drifted back. They were kids. Laughing on the front porch. His brother, Tony, always louder, always faster. "If they ever take me," Tony once said, "you better raise hell." Eric laughed. "I'll raise war." He looked up at Keen. "Tell me something," Eric rasped. "Did your father know what you became?" Keen's face shifted. Just for a second. A crack in the concrete. My father taught me exactly what I became. Then, a phone buzzed in Keen's pocket. He stepped aside. She slammed the box of evidence onto the desk. Keen's a serial killer, she said to the captain. And I've got enough here to prove it. He glanced at her. Expression unreadable. You know who his godfather is? He asked quietly. She blinked. What? State senator. Old money. Pulls strings. You try to push this, and you better be ready to burn your badge. She left the office. Stood in the parking lot. Rain started falling. Her badge felt like lead. But, in her heart, fire. She dialed someone she hadn't spoken to in years. Uncle D. I need a favor. I need to leak a story. Keen stepped out to take a call. Eric looked around. There, in the corner, an old broken table leg. Splintered. Sharp. He twisted his chair. Pain seared his side. But he reached it, clamped it between his bound hands, and started sawing the rope. A breaking report. Anonymous detective leaks evidence linking decorated officer to multiple cold case murders. Keen's face flashed on screen. The anchor's voice cracked. A trail of victims, a city misled. It was out. Now it was war. Keen watched the news from his phone. In his car, a tremor ran through his hand. Then he smiled. But not out of fear. Out of excitement. She wants to play. He tossed the phone on the passenger seat, pulled out his revolver, and drove. Eric broke the rope, fell to the floor, crawled to the stairs. Every inch a war. But the door creaked open. Boots on the steps. Keen was back. Gun drawn. That was your last mistake, Eric. Gun drawn. Silent as a shadow. She followed the GPS ping Eric had secretly set before he was taken. A trick he learned from defending victims. She burst into the basement. Drop it. Keen froze. Turned. Slowly. You don't have the guts. Her hand trembled. Don't test me. But Keen didn't raise the gun. He laughed. It's already over, detective. Check your 6. She turned. Another cop stood in the shadows. One of Keen's. His protege. A single shot fired. Eric screamed. Then, black. Silence. How deep does the rot go? When those who wear the badge write the script, control the story, bury the dead, would you trust the system? Or become the reckoning? Last time, Eric broke free. Detective Monroe leaked the truth. And just when justice looked close, a gunshot, silence, and betrayal in the dark. But evil doesn't end with a bang. It coils. It waits. And sometimes, it bleeds blue. Smoke clung to the air. The echo of a single shot still hung in the rafters. Eric lay still, but not dead. He opened his eyes. The bullet hadn't hit him. Monroe was down, bleeding from her shoulder, breathing, barely, and Keen. He wasn't smiling anymore. He was dragging Monroe's gun across the concrete with one foot, staring at his protege. You weren't supposed to fire yet. Officer Hale, fresh-faced, sharp jawline, badge less than 2 years old, looked shaken. I didn't mean to hit her. Keen didn't blink. You just picked your side. Then, with lightning speed, Keen fired. Hale dropped. Dead. Eric gasped. Keen turned slowly, the barrel pointed at Eric. Now, where were we? The story was spreading. Local anchors now said the word serial killer with unease. Photos of missing black men covered the screen. Every detail leaked by Monroe's files ignited another flame. But the city, still silent. No official statement. No arrest. No justice. Because when rot runs deep, the tree stays standing until someone takes an axe. Keen raised the gun. Eric closed his eyes. But then, a voice crackled on Keen's radio. Unit 34, we got a tip. Body found off Old Harper Road. Name matches Travis Keen. He froze. Eric's eyes snapped open. What the hell? Keen muttered. Another voice chimed in. Already notified the mayor. They want a full media response. Eric smiled through the blood. Someone flipped the script. While Monroe lay unconscious, her backup plan moved. She'd emailed the files. Not just to press, but to her cousin, Andre, a black journalist banned from every city council press conference. Andre wasn't scared. He was angry. And he was fast. Within hours, he faked a crime scene. Faked Keen's own murder. To buy time. And force exposure. The video went viral. If Officer Keen is dead, why hasn't the department confirmed it? Why did Detective Monroe vanish after leaking the truth? And why are the victims always black men, labeled as drug dealers, gangbangers, or known to police? One by one, the lies unraveled. America was watching now. But Keen? He was watching something else. The house around him, burning. Eric waited for his moment. As Keen panicked, pacing, thinking, calculating, Eric crawled toward Hale's fallen body. The rookie's sidearm, still holstered. He reached. Slowly. Silently. Click. The safety came off. Keen turned. Too late. Eric fired. The bullet hit Keen's leg. He dropped. Screaming. Eric rose, limping, every bone aching. You hunted us because no one looked twice. But someone always does, Keen. Monroe survived. Just barely. Eric sat beside her, wrapped in gauze. His hand on hers. You saved me, she whispered. You saved us, he replied. But even as they rested, outside the hospital, a storm was gathering. Because the department didn't arrest Keen, they protected him, labeled him mentally unstable, said it was a traumatic break from PTSD. He was moved to a secure facility. Not prison. Not justice. Just another cover story. Keen sat cuffed in the back of a black van. A guard sat beside him. No patch. No badge. Just cold eyes. Keen spoke first. This the part where you read me my rights? The man smiled. No. This the part where you die. Keen's eyes narrowed. You're not with the state. The man nodded once. Nope. Then he pulled off his hat. Underneath, a scar. Across his face. My brother was your first victim. 2005. The van turned off the highway. Onto a dirt road. No cameras. No GPS. Keen's face finally showed fear. Andre aired the final part of the leak. A photo. One that hadn't been seen before. A young Keen, in uniform, standing next to a burned cross. Smiling. Below the photo, bold words. When the badge becomes the hood. The justice system didn't fall. It simply blinked. And evil stepped through. We live in a country where monsters can write the narrative. And the victims write the obituaries. But not this time. Not if we fight back. Not if we keep the light on. Inside a small motel off Highway 9, a janitor found something strange while cleaning room 14. Blood on the carpet. A badge snapped in half. And a note on the mirror. This isn't over. TK, how far would you go for justice? When the system turns its back, would you stay quiet? Or light a match? They said monsters weren't real. But the truth is, they wear uniforms. Shake hands with the mayor. Get free coffee from the corner store. Monsters look like heroes until someone lives long enough to tell the story. And now, that story's coming to an end. The van was never found. But what was found? A uniform. A severed hand. A badge stuffed into a Bible, pages soaked with blood. The media erupted. Conspiracy theories. Lone wolf. Suicidal veteran. But Monroe. She knew better. Keene wasn't dead. He was hiding, hurt, and hunting again. Eric stood at his window, scars stitched across his torso like war maps. But he wasn't afraid anymore. He was angry. On the table, a USB, a burner phone, and Monroe's voice crackling through a speaker. "You sure you're ready for this?" He didn't answer right away. He looked at the photo beside the window, his brother, his mother, himself. Before it all broke. Then, he took too many. I'm not letting him take the ending. The night it all started. Eric was 15. Sirens howled outside his house. His brother was on the ground, hands behind his back. Mistaken identity, they told his mother. We're looking for a suspect. The suspect, light-skinned, 6 feet 2 inches, facial tattoos. Eric's brother? 5 feet 7 inches, dark, soft-spoken, honor roll. They took him anyway. He never came back. Monroe met with Andre and 3 others. A hacker, a former FBI profiler, and a grieving mother. They weren't just survivors. They were architects. If we're gonna end Keene, Monroe said, we expose everyone who protected him. Judges, chiefs, councilmen, the whole machine. Andre raised a brow. You ready for war? Monroe smiled. No. I'm ready for history. A forgotten cabin in the Appalachian woods. Keene moved like a man stitched together by rage. Limping. Breathing heavy. On the wall, photos. His victims. His missions. Their faces crossed out like trophies. But there was one photo left untouched. Eric's. Underneath it, written in red marker. Unfinished. Andre went live at 7:01 p.m. Over 2 million people tuned in within the hour. He didn't just leak more files. He read them. Councilman Hayes approved Keene's budget for surveillance upgrades. That money was used to install hidden cameras in black neighborhoods. Judge Farrow cleared Keene's dismissed arrests, over 47 black men arrested on fabricated charges. Chief Landers knew Keene was unstable in 2012. The department buried the psych eval. One by one, the names were exposed. One by one, the system cracked. The city roared. Tens of thousands took to the streets. Not for hashtags. Not for photo ops. For revenge. For recognition. Eric stood among them. For the first time, he didn't feel like a target. He felt like a fuse. Monroe traced Keene's last coordinates through his hacked burner phone. Eric wanted to go alone. She let him. But gave him something first. A tape recorder. Tell your story, she said. In case you don't make it back. Eric found the cabin. Keene was waiting. A hunting knife on the table. A rifle across his lap. Took you long enough. Eric stepped inside, slow, unarmed. I came for truth. Keene laughed. I gave truth. You just didn't like who the villain was. They circled each other like ghosts. You blamed the black community for your kills. Because no one cared, Keene snapped. You think they would have looked that hard if the victims were white? They were disposable, until I made them visible. Eric's jaw clenched. You didn't expose a system. You fed it. Same difference, Keene muttered, raising the rifle. But Eric moved first. Boom. Flashbang. Monroe's backup stormed in. Keene was tackled. Screaming. Bloodied. Dragged into the dirt he buried so many in. The department couldn't bury it anymore. They confirmed Keene's crimes. Announced a full internal investigation. Resignations. Arrests. Federal oversight. It was the beginning of accountability. But far from the end of pain. Eric sat in front of a camera. No studio. No lights. Just a man. He pressed record. You won't hear about all the lives Keen stole. Not really. Not with the weight they deserve. You won't hear about the fear of walking to the store. The silence after the sirens. But maybe you'll hear this. He played Monroe's voice on the tape. The people you fear are the ones trying hardest to survive. And those who should protect you often hunt you instead. Eric looked into the lens. But not anymore. Keen's trial began. Hundreds testified. Mothers, fathers, survivors. He sat there, pale, quiet. But Eric never showed up. Because the story wasn't about Keen anymore. It was about the lives still breathing. Still fighting. In a small neighborhood on the city's south side, a boy walked home. He passed a mural painted on the brick wall of a community center. It showed faces, names. Underneath, they tried to erase us. So we wrote the truth in fire. He paused, looking up, then smiled. Because he recognized one of the faces. It was his uncle. It was Eric. Would you have believed the story if the killer wore a badge? If the victims looked like your neighbors? What would you have done if it were your son, your brother, your city? If this story shook something in you, share it. Light it like a fuse. Because silence is where monsters live. And stories like this need light. Hit the like button, subscriber button, and the notification bell for more chilling true crime stories like this.